Well, good morning, everyone. Gonna do a little vlogging today and show what's going on in the backyard. I've got Victor coming at 10 to help me with some planting and really mostly just lifting and things because my back is still compromised, and though it's getting better, I'm not gonna try to do anything stupid. I did, however, I really did stretch today. So what we're gonna do is just try to whip this into shape. A garden is like a puzzle, and there's all sorts of puzzle pieces that need, almost tripped there, that need to fit together to really make a complete picture. Lots of the things here I have out in the backyard right now are just components. None of them are staged. None of them are in place. I actually really like doing this kind of work. So it's very frustrating to me that everything seems to be delayed because of one reason or another. And you'll see what I mean about my discussion yesterday. And if you haven't watched it, that really is a good tip. It's already helped me. This is what I'm talking about. I just have errant notebooks that just kind of lie around, and then I get interrupted. I move into something else, and then I don't go back and A, get the notebook, or B, pay any attention to what notes I indeed did take. So this is what we're going to work on today. I'm going to really try to get some order and figure out what goes where. Lots of things are going to be moving about. What is in one pot now will be in another pot later, and we're just going to do kind of leapfrog one thing to the other, or maybe it's better hopscotch, whatever the analogy is. It's still early in the morning, and hopefully I will be able to make some sense of this kind of stuff. I've got a really fun guest that's going to be visiting next week from Europe. He's got a fabulous, fabulous garden. I'll be telling you about him a little bit later. But right now, I'm going to go in and finish my coffee, maybe even put some clothes on. So here are the things I get distracted by. And I move from one thing to another in haywire fashion, and then I forget what I'm doing. But I have started pulling out some of my Easter stuff. Nothing is where it's ultimately going to be, but I've got eggs, I've got blue eggs, I've got baskets, I've got bunnies. So I'll start playing with those in a bit. But Linda, you need to focus, focus, focus. Despite the noise, it's awfully pretty out this morning. And here's something that I noticed as I'm doing my 3D coffee walkabout this morning, and that is that as I begin to primp up the window box, I notice that the euonymus have really gotten out of hand. They're a brilliant green. They're absolutely gorgeous. These are a Southern Living plant. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to prune them back, and I'm going to bring in some of the cuttings because I just love, let me see if I can move over here. I just love the way the tips look when they begin to fill out. There, I'll zoom in and show you, and they'll be really beautiful in a bouquet. I actually already have one in the kitchen, but I'm going to deconstruct it because half of it is dead, and I'm going to start over again. You guys notice I may sound a little bit throaty or whatever I did yesterday. I apologize for the mic and the audio in yesterday's video. I'm also dealing with some kind of allergies, I think. So my muffled shirt, because I was freezing all day with my muffler on, and then also kind of a little bit of nasally sound in my voice. It kind of makes the audio a little bit difficult, and I apologize. Well, here's the flower arrangement that I've had on my kitchen table. And as you can see, a lot of the flowers are starting to wilt, but some of them, particularly the Ostromerio, are still fresh. So I think I'm going to take some of that Irish mint, that euonymus cuttings, and I think I'm going to bring in here and just in short order make a new bouquet. And I'll be able to then not have to toss all of these flowers that still look very pretty, especially these beauties. And this is the container that I'm going to use. I love this deep, deep verdant green. I think it's going to be really pretty. And they've kind of been stuffed in the back of my closet, and I haven't used them for a while. So it's actually a planter, but I want to make sure that it's waterproof. So I've got another vase inside of it in which I will compose the blooms. We'll see what I mean about how gorgeous this euonymus is. Look at those tufts of green at the end. They tend to get fuller. Really, really, really lush. I could probably make some kind of wreath out of them, but it's kind of not wreath season right now. So you uber creative guys out there, you tell me, uber creative, I can't even talk this morning. You guys tell me what you would do with this, because it is just too beautiful to discard. Well, it's kind of a silly thing, but it actually looks pretty just like this, just this green. But I'm going to add some more of that Ostromeria. You know, it's kind of fun. I like doing it this way because it's like I'm talking to you guys in my head as I just go about my daily routine. I think of you wondering what you're doing, and if you too may be putting together a bouquet for your kitchen table. Anyhow, it's nice to just have this relaxed conversation without worrying about mics and hats blowing off and ambient noise. It's just a little bit more casual. Okay, that's kind of pretty, but I think it maybe needs one more flower to pop. I like to do things in threes, and then I will put it in. We'll put it in place. Maybe someplace different this time. We'll see. Well, there's a different third element. Some just quick cuttings from the Orange Rocket Barberry. I think it really does a pretty color echo with the different coloring near the base of the Ostromeria. Quick 10-minute bouquet, cost me practically nothing, no trip to Trader Joe's even. So there you go, it is put in place. I decided to just put it back on my kitchen table because I really like the rust repeat of the Barberry and the pillows. By the way, that pillowcase, I was in Williams-Sonoma yesterday, and the gold version is on sale. I was tempted to buy the gold version, and then I thought, no, Linda, you need it like a hole in the head. So there you go. There is a little project 1, 2, 3 for you very quickly, and I'm glad to have new fresh flowers on my table. Meanwhile, outside, the work continues. Victor arrived, and he is helping me do the heavy lifting kind of stuff that there's no way I can do right now. I probably also, my voice sounds a little deep because I'm on medication. So, Victor is repotting as we promised. Say hello, Victor.
Hello.
Yeah, so we are repotting the olive trees into these bigger tubs, and then we're going to recess them into these holes down there. The reason I'm doing this is, number one, I really like the way they looked in those urns because of the pedestal, and it enhanced the beauty of the trees, but they just weren't stable. And because of their top heaviness, and because it was time for them to finally be repotted again, that's what we're doing right now. So we're going to repot them in these tubs, which we will be able to lift out. And over here we have helper extraordinaire number 2, and he is working around an irrigation pipe. Look at how dry that soil is, but he's working around the irrigation pipe so we can recess it in. And once this gets done, I'm going to call it good, and then I'll prune these olive trees as you guys requested and show you how to do it. This, by the way, is a way to reuse old potting soil. So Victor, what would you say? You're using maybe 50% new, 50%?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are using the compost.
Yeah.
That you did in your.
Okay, excellent. So
yes.
he took some stuff out of the compost bin.
Compost.
And some potting soil, yes, and some of the other dirt. Mm-hmm. And by the way, sometimes I go ahead and use my compost before it's completely broken down, because it's largely broken down. It's really friable. It's organic matter. There's no diseased material in there, and I think it'll be just fine. Plus, I finally need to empty out my compost bin because it's getting too full and too heavy for me to even tumble. So, Victor, I've got confidence in you, and I'm going to leave you to this. So here's my compost tumbler in the back. I'll put a link to it. But like I say, it's not 100% broken down. Let me see if I can get in there, Victor. Mm-hmm. But it's good enough for me. It's been in there. Most of it's been in there for a long time. It's pretty friable, and I think it's just good organic matter. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use it. So the project we're going to work on next is filling up this tub, which just has kind of, well, just a lot of garden debris in there right now. And then we'll fill it up with some really good potting mix. And that should work. And then Victor and I just noticed that finally the tulips are starting to come out back here. And even though my rosemary took a hit, this Chef's Choice, Victor, did you see how I covered up this rosemary with an old insulated sleeping bag? And it worked great, except for I didn't do it on the end, and that's the part that got winter burn. But I think it's still alive and it's coming out. One thing I will be able to do myself is cut back these Annabelle hydrangeas. You can see that they're already starting to put new growth on. But that doesn't deter me. I really want to reduce their size and have them be more full and also a lot better support for the big heads. So I'm going to do that. And then over there in the distance, the oak leaf hydrangea. Sorry, my words are coming slowly to me today. The oak leaf hydrangea is over there. Now, I showed you layering last year on how you can propagate your Annabelle hydrangeas by just bending over a cane. And you can see right there that in and of itself will probably be another plant this year if I wanted to move it someplace else. But you can see how I secured it at the base with just a wire or a metal clip, and it's starting to put out new growth right there at the point where it is secured to the ground. Okay, you guys, here's a quick thing, one thing too. So you may remember that I had this evergreen in here. It was a blue star juniper, and I took it out and I just plopped in one of those similarly colored pansies that I got for half price at Lowe's the other day. And then see this guy, I'm just gonna toss it in here, and we're going to fill that up with soil. That's all organic matter. It's all going to break down over time. I'm not worried. I'm not going to even put any gravel in there. It'll be just fine, but that way I'm not wasting it, and I'm not going to have to use that much of a volume of potting soil. I've talked about that quite frequently. The other thing is I have stuff just everywhere out here. And at any point in time, if you hear a clank, it's probably because we're clanking on it. But I think this is really beautiful, and I'm going to water it, and then we'll take some pretty pictures of it. Love, love, love. One of my favorite things of this year is these tiny little coral bells. I love this color. I am hoping that they will go to seed and sprinkle in here everywhere, and that will make me tremendously, tremendously happy. So this guy's getting adjusted right now, so it's complaining a little bit, but I might even pinch it some. And if I were to pinch it, well, let's just go ahead and pinch it. I'll pinch it right there. See? And that will make it a little bit more bushy. And then once these pansies are done, I'll come back in with some kind of I can't talk today, Stuart. Hot weather summer annual. Okay, happy day, happy day. Finally, these tulips are starting to come out. Stuart, doesn't sound like I've had a sex change or something.
It's a little deep.
Yeah, people come in. I've already apologized for the audio yesterday. Oh. Something's up with my voice. I don't know if it's allergies or whatever. And then I was freezing all day yesterday, even though it got warm. I don't know what the problem was. Maybe I'm a little bit sick and I don't know it, in addition to my back. But I was freezing all day yesterday. Everybody else was sweating and I was freezing. So anyhow, I digress. But these tulips are looking beautiful. And then I can't remember the name of this. But it's absolutely gorgeous, and all I had to do, and this was a start that my friend, I believe Carolina Elizabeth gave to me, I believe. I wrote it down in my garden journal who gifted it to me. You guys are so good about gifting me things, and I'm not always good about remembering exactly in the moment, but you guys know that you are so appreciated. You are so appreciated. Okay, so right here, you can see that a bunch of the gravel has just kind of degraded and gone away. And once we get done with all of the planting and stuff, I'll come back in here with some fresh gravel, or somebody will help me with some fresh gravel. Maybe you, Stuart, if I still can't lift the bags. I am worried about the little Miss Figgies. but then sometimes they surprise me and they bounce back. But I'm not seeing any new growth at the base or anywhere. Maybe they're either just late or maybe they're really sincerely dead. That remains to be seen. But the bay tree that we took out of the greenhouse, man, look at all that new foliage. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay.
It looks good on.
Yeah, okay. Oh, very good. Okay, so what we've got going on now, thanks to these guys' strong backs and strong arms and whatever, and maybe a torn, I hope you didn't do that here.
No,
I hope you didn't do that here. So there is the sprinkler line underneath. Would you do that again with your foot where you just kind of, I wanted to make sure it was flexible enough that we could put some weight on it without damaging it, the underground pipe. Okay, so now on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, makes my back hurt just watching you guys. Okay, see how it's going to be recessed in there? And then I will, and it's tight quarters. Now you're captive. You are captive back here. But it's tight quarters. But nevertheless, all we have to do then in the fall is lift these out. Victor can whisk them away. Yes, I know how fortunate I am to have friends with a greenhouse. I do know that. And I know how fortunate I am to have Victor and his helpers here always filling in where I can't. So then we're going to make this look good, and then I'll come back and I'll top dress with some gravel. Let me see first, you guys, if this is the orientation that I want, or if I might want to torque it. Can we twist it a little bit and see? So when you're buying any kind of olive tree or really any kind of specimen, oh yeah, I think right, maybe just a little bit more, a little bit. Tiny bit more, 2 inches. Oh, that's it. Just the sweet spot. So, and notice that I'm not pruning it until I get it into place. It looks a little bit droopy because obviously we need to water it in, but it's also because everything is wind whipped. I mean, it's not so much that they're dry, they don't have any frost damage, but they definitely look a little bit the worse for wear from all of that wind that we had. So once I get these in position, I will prune them according to where they are. And they're going to do the same thing with this one over here. They'll be much more stable. I don't have to worry about them blowing over anymore. They've been repotted. They should put on new growth, all thanks to Victor et al. Hey, this is the kind of thing. Stuart Extraordinaire is also helping out in the garden today. This is the kind of thing that in the past I would have done myself, but I'm not going to right now. These are those beautiful hellebores that I got at Trader Joe's. Stuart, you probably remember them. Yep, they're gorgeous. By the way, they also have hellebores at Bricks, we noticed yesterday. So Stuart's going to take this to the side of the house, and I'll show you once we get there where we're going to plant them later. So this whole area over here, it needs a lot of work. But I am happy that in all of this chaos, I'm going to have these hellebores to plant over here on the east side, and I think they'll be fine. I did lose a couple, sadly, of the Terra hydrangeas. We had to remove them in order to put in the piers. That big one is still back in the corner, but I lost a couple of them right here. So I think I'm going to fill this area with those hellebores, and we'll get this all tidied up and looking nice. And I have to say that this vista right here, Stuart, if you ignore all the uglies, if you guys out there ignore all the uglies behind me, this vista looks really nice. Okay, so Stuart wasn't here when I did this earlier, but so this is kind of the origins of that bouquet. Because when I was doing my 3D, my discover, delegate, and I can't think of my other 3D, discover, delegate, deconstruct.
We did a fun circle there.
Yes, we did a fun circle there. Sorry, and truly, you guys, I probably sound a little loopy because I am on a methyl relaxant and it makes me a little bit loopy. But I wanted to give you a real idea of what it's like in the course of a day, whether my back is out or not, as I'm getting ready for some really big functions here. And so this gives you an idea of just how I said earlier, how all of the pieces of the puzzle come together. And this is one of the pieces, Stuart, that I noticed that I really needed to do some clipping on these Irish mint euonymus. And so the clippings were so pretty that I didn't want to discard them, so I used them. So anyhow, now I see I need to do still a little bit more clipping to make these even, and they'll fill out. And I'll reduce the size of this one. I don't want them to look exactly symmetrical, but they'll look good enough. But if I can find it right here, I want to put a picture of last year, you guys, these were only about here.
Yeah.
That's how much growth they have put on. And this Sunshine Ligustrum looks very pretty. So I'm going to finish filling this. Yeah, I'm going to finish filling all of this with some kind of color pretty soon. And then here are some of the baskets that I got yesterday at Bricks, and I'm going to be staging them up and down the front. And Stuart, I'm going to go back and check on the guys in the back to see what progress they're making. And then if you would show all of the white tulips, the Vidal that are starting to come out. I know the light is harsh right now, but it's what we've got.
I'll give him one of those Stuart Slow tours.
Yeah, give him a Stuart Slow tour, and we're going to be doing some droning, and then we'll come back and we'll do a whole quiet garden tour when things are lovely with nothing but bird song, no trucks, and when the light isn't quite so brash. Ignore my ugly Stuart. Dude, I hurt your knees.
They do.
This is supposed to be a little bit of quiet beauty, and then all of our body parts are popping and cracking and falling apart.
I didn't groan, which is good.
You didn't, when you get a chance, show them over there how that beautiful, I think that's Encore Empress, is getting ready to bloom. It's got big buds on it. It really handled the cold well.
Seems like the roses put on foliage real quick.
Yeah, the roses are really filling out.
When do they bloom?
It won't be for a while yet, but I really don't want them to bloom for a while because I want the tulips to really be center stage. Oh, this is something kind of fun if you want to follow me, Stuart. Oh, look, right here, you guys. Pumpkin seedling. That is a very easy seedling to recognize. And I am going to do a whole thing on seedling recognition and, you know, how you do it. But come this way because I discovered another how to garden in the forgotten places. So all of my topiaries were scattered everywhere throughout the house, indoors and outdoors, and it's really time that they all come outside now. And look, doesn't this look sweet here?
Oh wow, I didn't see it at first.
Yeah, it looks very, very sweet here. So they're here they're just waiting to transition into a little bit brighter light because they've been inside, and I don't want them to really, I don't know, have a difficult acclimation period. So I have fed them all real well, and when I'm inside, I usually use just an organic fertilizer, but I have Miracle Grow for my pansies already hooked up, so I'll just use Miracle Grow on them. Some of these are going to need to be repotted too. Okay, this is a fun project, you guys, that I'm going to do today, and this is the quickest way for you to make topiary, and that is to just take some kind of form. These used to be in my QVC line, and sadly you can't get them anymore, but I just got these hanging baskets, and oops.
Stay together.
See, this is real world kind of stuff, you guys. Okay, and then obviously when I get it to the potting table, I have watered these. This is a really good example of one. Okay, so I'll just put that in here. I'll add some more potting soil around it, and then immediately I can stick this in sans leaf and I can train this up the topiaries, and these might come inside for Easter. Maybe put some Easter eggs in there. Here's a QOD question of the day. What would you guys do with these? I've got 2 of them, and at first I thought maybe these pots aren't big enough scale for them, but then I just decided no, I kind of like that look. So today I will get these done and we'll take a snapshot of them and show you. I do have 2 of them. And so this is fun. This is also actually, you guys, a nice place to work over here because it's in the shade.
Feels really good.
Yeah, it feels really good over here. I can have a bag of potting soil. I can just put them in. So this is kind of a forgotten place that is proving to be more useful than I would have thought. And it's really actually kind of charming. And come this way.
It's kind of always in shade. Huh?
Yeah, it's always in shade. And it's kind of fun to look inside. So look inside at the flower arrangement I just did and the candle in there.
I can get it to focus.
Yeah, I don't know if you can or not.
Oh, there it goes. Yep.
But I need to go in and that's an unattended.
You can see all the way through the front door.
Yeah, that's an untended candle that I need to blow out.
Oh, you're right. Good point.
Okay, so Victor actually had 2 of these large tubs from a job that he did before. And I would pick up that tag on the ground, but I'm not going to because that would mean I have to bend. Oh, look here, you guys. Okay, this is very fun. I had some sweet pea seeds, and I thought, okay, this is a gardening risk worth taking. I got them in kind of late, but I soaked them, and then I planted them in here, and I've got these cages on so the squirrels can't get to them. This is in my seeding trough, but they're germinating, and who knows, they may do something and they may not, but it gives me so much happiness to see these little darlings here, and especially when new ones germinate.
It's fun for me to walk past there and see the things that grow in there.
Yep.
It's always different.
Okay, so I've got a couple of these big pots I just showed you, and we're going to do the same thing with these myrtle topiaries as we did with the olive trees in the back. We're going to transplant them into these. These also taper at the bottom, and you may have noticed in that windstorm that they all kind of blew from west to east, and we want to remedy that. So we're going to plant them in here. This will make them that much more secure because they'll have a flat bottom, and it will help them grow not just in a point, but grow in a really much more stable fashion. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll just drop them in there. This green color will virtually disappear. By the way, I have seen Eugenia topiaries at a number of different places. I've seen them at both garden centers in all different forms, and I think they also had some at TLC. But people, these purveyors of plants are really getting in on the fact that people want to buy these. And so you wouldn't see them till the end of this growing season. But now you see them at the beginning of the growing season, which is great because then you can go ahead and put them in place and they can fill out and they can really already play a big contribution to your spring landscape. If you just kind of torque around here, Stuart, look at all of the new growth that's on all of these boxwood balls. I know, it's unbelievable. Today, as I was kind of reviewing my garden, I think that our strategy is the tall boxwoods I'm going to probably prune, but the other ones I'll have Victor's help with, and we're going to start out with just the ones that are glossy leaved. So the ones that are not glossy leaved, and by the way, these are winter gem, these are baby gem, these are winter green, and Cranberry Creek, and we're going to prune these today. All of the other ones that aren't so glossy green, like the Green Mountain, Green Velvet, those I'll prune a little bit later. And then when I do my whole Better Boxwood video, I'm giving my back a couple more days. When I do that Better Boxwood video, I'm going to show you exactly what I do and also give you a little bit more idea on the different varieties, how I'm using them, and just how stellar they are, and how the mountain villages are really starting to, they're just turning into friendly little neighborhoods. Okay, here's just a little thing. By the way, somebody just stopped by and said, "Oh, your house looks just like a little storybook." I thought, well, I kind of like that. That's the look we're going for. Okay, just another little charge, a little dopamine hit, because look at some of those lettuces have indeed germinated. They'll start growing out. They'll fill in. And some of them kind of have washed into other areas. I may prick them out and kind of reassess where they go. You can see a lot of them in here too. So that's kind of fun. I need to pull that out. Looks like I'm going to need a shovel to do that. So one of my favorite things at the old house was when you first came through the gate, there was one mammoth boxwood ball that sat just to the right of the garden bench, and I really kind of miss it, and I want that same kind of focal point structure in here. So I bought one that's a little bit larger. I'm too impatient to let one really grow into place. This is actually a Green Mountain one, and so the guys are watching for sprinkler lines, but they're planting it right here, and I will trim it into a ball. It's one more of this variety here and this variety here. So that will be good. Hey, Victor, did you already water? It looks like you already watered that in. Yes. Okay, so once that recovers a little bit and isn't quite so stressed, I'll start pruning on it. This is what I'm really waiting for, because this is going to be so much fun. And that is putting my veggies in here. So I got just a couple of things the other day when I went to TLC. This is going to be primarily all herbs. So some of them I will seed, but then I wanted a quick start. And I think it's going to be fun to have this calibrachoa or million bells. Yeah, these right here. And I kept this in so I could record it in my journal. Super Bells, Tropical Sun. And this will match my color palette back here. I'm hoping that by the time the tulips bloom, this will already start filling out. And then I'm just going to do, again, because I've got a garden tour and garden visitors, I am probably going to seed some things, but I'm really going to put a bunch of starts in here. Jen said, Linda, I need to help you, and we just need to get this really packed and full. So it will be garden tour ready. Normally I would be a little bit more patient, but I've got to, it's for a really good cause, and so I really want to do whatever I can to make a big splash so that we can get lots of attendees. Now, Stuart, if you'll just turn around, this makes me happy, even with a broken door on my shed. Look at how pretty all that orange looks. And I think it's going to be beautiful. I'm really in a geranium frame of mind. Okay, so these guys, these are just some of the smaller Eugenia topiaries, and they really are wind whipped. They're not dead. Again, they're not dead. They do need to be watered. But this is just trauma. This is just wind trauma. I actually thought I had them protected enough, but I didn't. So while the guys are doing the heavy lifting stuff, I can do this easier stuff. I'm just putting them back in a ball form. As soon as I do this, I will give them a good watering and a good feed, and these will respond very quickly. One thing I have discovered now that I've lived here for a couple of years, and this will be my second really full growing season, and that is just how much shade it really does get back here on this side. So some of these things that look like they're in pretty good sun right now, they're not going to stay in sun. And what I've found is some of the topiaries that I have on this rack really don't get enough light. So that's just something I'm considering. It may be that most of my begonias and stuff will go over here. I need to transplant that. That is something that I probably can handle myself, may or may not do it, into a bigger pot that won't blow over. That is one of those beautiful Angiostarphoshedras from Southern Living, and I'm going to put that in because I want it to sit on this step right there, sit on that second tier and kind of arch up and over. And if I can get that with some support, I think it'll be really pretty. I can't wait to show you guys this stuff once it is all finished, because you'll have an idea of maybe how my brain works. I'm trying to give you a glimpse into how my design brain works, as scary as that is. And by the way, I'm not a professional. So I'm just doing this based on what I think looks good to me, and that's what I encourage you to do the same. You don't have to be a professional, you just have to maybe have a good eye for scale and composition.
You're an artist.
And yes, it's an obstacle course around here. So we're trying to move some things, but this is what I mean. The puzzle pieces are going into place. This is one happy transplanted olive tree. Now, ideally,
it is happy.
Yeah, when they were on the stand, I did like the height of them better because they kind of filled this void, but I like the fact that they'll be more stable in here even better. So I'll come back and prune on this. And then this is some kind of Tradescantia or Purple Heart or whatever. It's a succulent. And you can see I'm just being pretty brutal, and I'm gonna just break this off because it will then thicken up and grow and kind of soften the edge of the pot and make the edge of the pot just kind of virtually disappear. And so
I was kind of close on you when you mentioned that the height of the olive trees. Will you kind of illustrate how they did the archway before?
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. Before they were on. Okay, see those plant stands right there? They were on plant stands, and then they were on in those kind of urn-shaped planters. So by the time the planter was above ground, and they weren't buried into the ground. The height was more about here. And so I really liked that better, but I like the stability of this, and over time they'll grow. And this also is going to give me some clues into how I want to prune them. But I mean, Victor, wow, look at all of that. Yes. Look at all of those flowers on there. And it's so curious to me how they were in the same location, just like kids. You can raise them in the same way, and one will, perform and the other one won't. No, I didn't. That sounded wrong. That sounded wrong. One will grow one way and the other one will grow a different way, even though they were in the same conditions. Boy, I'm going to get in trouble for that. Victor, you got me in trouble. Victor got me in trouble. So then this will kind of teach me how I want to prune them. Yeah, a little bit more. A little bit more. Okay, I think that's about right. Because I'm wanting that one branch to ultimately get tall enough and arch up and over. And it will. Right now it's a little bit congested. But in my head I can see the vision. And once it gets into place, that's not prohibitively difficult for me to kind of torque it myself. So right now we are just doing what we can. And look at how much less congested it's starting to look as the puzzle pieces fall into place.
All that color. Get in a drink. Get in a drink.
So one thing I'm going to do here is I've got these pots of geraniums, and they happen to be the perfect size to fit into these urns.
You never would have guessed that was in there.
Yeah, and happily, I'm not going to try to pick that up.
Yeah, let me get it.
Yeah. Okay, so happily, we can set that up on the table. So happily, I've got 3 of these, and then I need to just determine where I want to put them. So there's one. Now what I want to do is, would you get some pruners? And I've got tons of pruners up there. They're all sharp. And let's cut both of those guys back down, because I don't think they're going to come out. They may come out at the base, but they're not going to come out here. Well, let me see.
Can I cut it a little bit?
Yeah, you can cut.
Yes, it's great.
Well, okay, we're gonna be conservative about this right now. I know that part's dead, so if you can cut that off for me. Again, these are things I normally would do myself, but
You got good help.
And then let's test this one too. I don't know. This is the one last year that seemed more protected than that one. That one last year died all the way to the back. Okay, so let's give a test run on this and see if there's any green.
Yeah, a little bit green.
Tiny bit. Okay. I'm still real iffy on both of these, but I'll change my mind. We'll leave him here for right now. But in the meantime, because I need to fill this, here's what I'm going to try to do. This may not work. This could be completely an experiment. But while I've got these guys here, I want to try something. And I want to move this plant stand over to that wall. It's really not very heavy. And I can come back, and I'll come back and do just a spray paint on that where the blue is rubbing through. But I'm gonna let these guys move this right now, and we'll see if it's a keeper, if I like the idea. I'm thinking it could be pretty just all completely filled with red blooming plants and maybe some peppers and things later. So we're gonna try it and see.
You've had this one for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had this one for a long time. And this was, I can't remember where this came from. This may have come from Gardener's Supply. And I actually like this shape and the size of it. It is, from a usefulness standpoint, it's been great, but it was a little bit unwieldy to put together. It's warming up, guys.
Yeah. What?
And I can already hear all of you out there screaming, Linda, get that stuff out of the way for them. Easier said than done sometimes.
Yep.
But I got that.
Where are they going with it, Linda?
Okay, so I want to set it in here, obviously facing that way and maybe centered, which means that we might have to kind of position it around the fig tree. And then always the challenge is going to be, can we get it straight? So let's move it this way a little bit more. And let me stand back. Ooh, what kind of bird is that? If you guys know do you know what kind of bird that is?
No.
Sounds like a squeaky wheel bird.
I don't know. But it's one I'm not that familiar with. Okay, let's move it over this way a little bit more even. And the nice thing is even if, well, whatever it is, it's screaming at us, isn't it? Must have a nest up there it's protecting. The nice thing is, even if the fig tree starts coming out, it'll just support the branches, and I'll still be able to move this if I want. Mm-hmm. Okay, if we can just straighten up the legs and try to straighten out overall, and then we'll see if it's gonna stay or gonna go. Yeah. So let's take a break here. Okay, so this is a handy little tip. Obviously, there is what's that device? I can't. Level. Thank you. Yeah, my words aren't coming well today. Okay, a level, and even though it doesn't look level to me because of the bricks, it is level. So thank you, Victor, for pointing that out to me. Now, then you say, well, Linda, if it looks unlevel to you, just go ahead and remedy that. Well, no, I'm not going to do that, because by the time I think I get flowering plants and stuff on it, we're not going to be able to tell. You won't be able to tell any difference. So thank you for that, Victor. So if the legs are straightened and it feels pretty stable, and it doesn't feel like, one thing is going to sink into the ground, then I think it'll be okay. The other thing is, I'm not worried about really stepping on a lot of this stuff because there's nothing growing underneath this gravel. So I'm concerned about the quality of soil compression and things around my plants, but are walking on this. We're not stomping on anything that's going to come out. That's going to come out later. Okay, let's take a break here, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to start just a trial and error. I'm going to start putting some geraniums on there and see if I like the effect. Okay, so I'm watering in these little darlings. Now look down here at what a great job they did in getting those in place, and how flush, pretty much relatively flush it looks. And so then we'll put some more gravel down in there, and I think it is going to be muy bueno. And then, as always, Victor is such the professional, and he noticed that part of it wasn't standing up straight because one of the legs needed to be tightened. And I know you guys are so covetous of having a Victor.
They are too.
Yeah. But you know what? Depending on what your line of work is, you probably have access to all sorts of professional people that I wouldn't know about. It's just because this is kind of my job. One thing I've noticed about the geraniums, oh my gosh, they have so much dust. I normally don't really water them too much on their foliage, but they've got so much dust on them from the other day that I kind of need to. Okay. So, let's try this, gentlemen. Let me find some. I'm not sure what pots I want to use. Tell you what, we'll take a break and let me do some thinking, and then we'll be right back. Turn this water off because I'm wasting water. I need a new washer in my hose. So the dilemma for me right now, and yes, my life is so hard. My dilemma right now is deciding what kind of containers that I want to use for the geraniums. And typically, I probably would just use plain terracotta. But the thing about terracotta is it really does dry out very quickly. So some of these I might just want to leave in their plastic pots. All I'm doing now is just seeing how I like this pop of red over here. And so far, I think I'm liking it. Obviously, things are going to have to be straightened. And positioned because I won't want any of the white showing, but all in due time. Okay, so I'm liking the way these look. Now, do I need to zhuzh the pots? Yes. Do I need to plant some of them probably in the containers completely? Yes, I will do that. And when I plant them, I'll kind of torque them towards the front a little bit so that it will look like they're leaning in this direction and not towards the back. But I like how that looks. There'll still be plenty of room for me to determine if Little Miss Figgy is coming out or not. If Little Miss Figgy does come out, the brilliance of this solution is then, by then it'll probably be too hot for these geraniums to stay in this location because this will get full sun. So then I can move this back out again and let the Miss Figgy take over. So that's really a one thing, two thing. So then this area right here is not looking optimal to what I want it to look like. So I'm going to have to do something over here to get this section good. This, you may recall, was where I had, for a short period of time, I had the water barrel. And then it suffered decline. You know, nothing ever stays in place. You guys were wondering about my little broom. The little broom is for when I'm doing potting projects or something like Victor's doing, and we make a mess and we go like this, or when there's all sorts of cedar droppings, the needles and stuff fall off of the cedar trees, I can kind of go like this. Or gravel gets dislocated and I can sweep it back into place. And this belonged to my second mom, so it's kind of fun every time I use it. I bring it in during the winter.
And it looks cool.
Okay, so we can take kind of a snapshot. This is not completely a before, but it's a before enough. And then I'll get all of these primped and pruned. Not sure if this guy's going to stay here or not. Maybe not, because maybe I like a little bit of negative space. The other nice thing is I probably won't even need to touch this up because you're not going to be able to see where any of the paint was scraped away, and it will save me some time and energy. So you may recall last week when I was working with my buddies, Kelly and Jen, that we noticed that this scented geranium, boy, it was just really, really root bound and packed too tightly into here. So, and it was difficult for me to pull out. So Victor took it out. We've divided them up. And what I think we're going to do is we're going to put them into two different pots. And I'll show you which pots they are. And if you guys want to help me carry them over here, then we could go ahead and pot them up. So I think I'm going to put them in. Yeah, you can leave that there. Yeah, in these woven baskets, or they look like woven baskets. These pots, they'll be fun to
Aquí vamos a plantar.
And this one too.
Okay.
There's a second one over here. So then we'll have two, and we might really want to freshen up the dirt in those. I'll see if I can hunt down some Osmocote somewhere, and we'll try to get those up and happy. And these you guys, they might move to the front because they will bloom in pink, and I like the scented fragrance of them around the social patio, but that kind of remains to be seen. Okay, Stuart, let's get a little shot of how that is starting to look over there. Looks a little bit congested, but nevertheless, I think it's doing what we want it to do. Okay, so as long as we're making a mess over here, we'll get them planted into these pots, and then we'll stage them someplace. I'll go ahead and plant these that I showed you earlier. So I have those and ready to go. Now I can tell from a distance from the long angle coming into the gate that this looks a little too congested over here to me, but that's okay. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna work on this some more, probably move that to a different location. We might even eventually have to, I'm not sure, maybe move that over a little bit, but I'm gonna get this I'm gonna get it all staged first to decide what tiny little tweaks need to take place. But I like the way that it's shaping up. And it's interesting, when you first walk in, I call it the money shot. And I'm not mic'd up, so hopefully you can hear me. This is just very behind the scenes kind of stuff. When you first walk in, it does look kind of congested, and it looks like it's pushed, I don't know, like it needs to be relocated to me. But then I look over here and I see, no, this is right in the center. So it just kind of depends on what your vantage point is. So I think I'm gonna leave it this way right now, and I will keep zhuzhing it over time. Now, I'm not making any promises, but I am hoping that we'll get this, and bless you, if we get this done enough, so today you can just see all of the mess, the chaos before the beauty, and then hopefully maybe it'll be pretty much done tomorrow for Wednesday walkabout. That remains to be seen. But we are scrambling as fast as we can to get all of this done. Now, I could leave these Annabelle hydrangeas like this, and I could let them just continue for the buds to move up the branch. But I really don't want to do that because I want to contain their size. I know how big these are going to get, and I really want them to bloom more abundantly. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to take them all down to about right here. And I'm going to just kind of clip. And yes, I am clipping off some of that green, but I'm not worried about it. It's in its active growth phase, and this will actually be good. Any of them that are really thin, like that, I'm gonna just take off.
That'll strengthen the others.
That'll strengthen the others. And I'm gonna take this one off to, actually I'm gonna take this one off to that right there. And I tell you, if, there are so many different videos on doing this, and most of them basically just say that you can reduce the size because these bloom on new wood, and that's what we're all about. So I'm gonna just, I think, you know what, I lied. I'm gonna take this off right here. Take this one out. And I'm gonna do this to all of these around here, removing maybe some of the thinnest of the canes. And these will be the happier for it. Even this one, I think, I am going to, and you'll notice that I'm taking it down to just right above a bud. I'm gonna leave that there. I think this one, and not only is new growth coming out from these branches, but look, there's new growth coming out from the bottom too. So this is really gonna thicken up. So I think I'm gonna take this one off down to here. Can you tell I got my pruner sharpened? I'm going to take this one out. Well, maybe I'll cut it down to right there. And this I can do without bending because I can do it kneeling. Or I could get all the way down on my rear end and I could do it. This one is a dead cane. You
That
can
came
see
off
that. Yeah,
easy.
that came off easy. So I'm going to take that all the way down to the ground. And what that does is it'll give it a little bit more air circulation. But the other thing it will do is get more light down to the base. And you can see that I've got drip irrigation on all of this. And you can see over here, this is where I layered some of those branches. I had one that came out through here. I layered it down. I secured it with some kind of probably a piece of a clip like this. I secured it to the ground, and you can see how it's starting to spread that way. Very effective. Okay, so I'm going to call it quits for now. I'm going to go in, I'm going to get some lunch, I'm going to get something to drink. We're going to continue to work out here for the rest of the afternoon, but a plan is coming into place. That always makes me feel better, a little bit more confident about what's going to be going on, and we just will move on to the next thing. I'll see you guys tomorrow.